What's up, everyone? Excited to be back with you for our first film study since before the Super Bowl. Been a minute, took a couple months off from this. Excited to talk a little quarterback draft class today, and we'll dig into Carson Beck's film in just a minute. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. These are the projects that I love doing and love sharing with you, but I cannot do it without your support, so I hate asking, but please like, subscribe, click all the buttons, rate, review, all that fun stuff, and keep me engaged in this content because I love doing it for you, and I hope you learn something from it. I hope you get something out of it, especially if you laugh or enjoy what I'm talking about. Please like and subscribe. So Carson Beck is, to me, the value of this 2026 NFL quarterback draft class. I'm obviously not overly enthused with the top of the class. It's a relatively thin quarterback class. We know Fernando Mendoza is going first. Despite what Dan Orlovsky's trying to sell you, he looks to be the most solid quarterback in this class. And you have the situation developing now in Vegas where they bring in Kirk Cousins as the obvious veteran mentor, and they'll draft Mendoza, and we'll see how that dynamic plays out throughout the summer. My guess is Cousins starts the season as QB1, and then Mendoza takes the reins at some point. Ty Simpson's kind of a tweener. A lot of people do view him as a first-round pick, and I certainly see the traits. I certainly see sort of what Dan Orlovsky's trying to pitch to us on Simpson from the neck up. And I said this last year on my radio show that I think he's the best quarterback I've seen at the collegiate level, but not a ton of experience and not as durable as you would want in his first full season as the starter. So I didn't like how he started the year hot and then completely fell off the table down the stretch. And that, to me, says he needs some seasoning still. So I view Mendoza significantly in front of Simpson. I still think there's a chance that there's a GM that really likes Ty Simpson's traits and goes a little bit above their skis and takes Simpson in the first round, kind of like what the Giants did with Jackson Dart last year. But more than likely, end of first round, beginning of second round pick. He's firmly the number 2 quarterback in this class. After Ty Simpson, I think that's where things get interesting because you've got Garrett Nussmeier, who is the consensus number 3 quarterback in the class based on the mocks. You have Drew Aller and Carson Beck, who are kind of tied for 4th in the consensus mocks. But frankly, I value Carson Beck a little bit more than I think some of the consensus mock drafts indicate. And that's because I think he possesses a lot of those traits that Dan Orlovsky was selling to us about Ty Simpson. And his ability from the neck up to click through reads and to identify what the defense is doing and find the best available option to throw the football accurately, that is something he has done with experience over the long haul at 2 different power conference programs. And as we're going to see in this film study, playing in a high leverage game against the SEC in the college football playoff. So I think we really have to take, and winning that game, by the way, and then covering against Indiana in the national championship. So I think we have to take Carson Beck really seriously, guys. And I'm not saying he's a first-round pick. I'm not saying he is the savior of the franchise, but it is likely that an NFL team is going to take Carson Beck, and they're going to need him at some point to start some key reps down the stretch. A contender, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you look at the prediction markets, that's the favorite for Carson Beck to be taken in this draft to go to Pittsburgh. All right, so Fiesta Bowl, early in the game. The biggest knock on Carson Beck is he's not mobile enough. I'm seeing the 40 time in the 4.8 range. Tyler Shuck was kind of 4.6, 4.7 last year. So if Beck is slower than that, I mean, you do the math. Tyler Shuck is kind of considered a little bit more statuesque in the pocket, and I think that's the biggest knock on Beck. But here he is, right? Defense gives him a very soft zone look. Everyone's dropping. You're only rushing 3. He sees a little pocket of space here, and he's not going to hesitate. I mean, he's going to make one man miss, make a move, put his head down, and pick up a first down. And obviously this is the college level, not the NFL level, but these are SEC backers. And I think that is something that if Carson Beck can put in his repertoire and show to agents and GMs and scouts that he can do, I think, to me, that is that's going to be positive for him. Obviously, running is not his game. But if the knock on him is he can't pick up the first down when the obvious play, the obvious read is quarterback keep, I think I've seen some evidence on film to the contrary of that. All right, this is why you're drafting Carson Beck, because he is an elite distributor of the football with elite mechanics and elite timing. So you are going to see Miami run their little play action, fake toss, Malachi Toney over the middle. The play action is going to get these linebackers sucked up, and it's going to open up this giant pocket of space here in the middle for Carson Beck to throw to. The problem is you've got one safety that is playing the opposite hash who is going to charge and make a play on this football. So you still, despite the play action, have a very tight window to throw to. He's going to execute the play action, get his feet set, and then deliver a strike over the middle to Malachi Toney, who's going to make a hell of a catch, and then draw the 15-yard personal foul. See it much better here from the tight. So, first of all, I don't love the clap hand signal. John Gruden gave him some shit for that in his Gruden QB camp interview, and I think that's something I'd like to see him get worked out. Apparently at Georgia and at Miami, that's the only kind of snap count they ran was the clap. So I think that's going to be a bit of a learning curve for him. But here's what's not going to be a learning curve, right? There's the fake pitch and the play action, and then you got to immediately go back into the pocket, drift back into the pocket, right? Because the play action doesn't get sold unless you kind of head fake and juke to the running back. But then the pocket is still setting up back here. So you've got to, again, push back, set your feet, and then deliver a strike. And he's also got a little bit of pressure coming up the middle, a little bit of pressure coming from that side. So this is not an easy throw because this safety is crashing from the opposite hash, and you've got the umpire not exactly helping the scenario either. He is basically throwing to a spot on the painted area, and he is just trusting that Malachi Toney is going to get there. And it's a perfect throw in a perfect window. And then he draws the 15-yard personal foul on top of it. Okay, so he can fit the ball into tight windows. He also can come off of windows that aren't available and work back to the opposite side. So they're going to try to run Toney on this rub route on this little corner or on this little out, this little quick out. And the cornerback's going to be all over. I actually think they're going to banjo this, and it's this corner that's going to rotate over the top and get over the top of this. No, they switched it. So flat corner is going to be all over it. And even this hook curl linebacker is going to kind of drift into this zone here, right? Because they know they're trying to spam Toney in the flat. So they have got this completely buttoned up. But Carson Beck sees it. He comes off of it, and he knows he's now got single high safety with a backside post over the middle. Now, that's not a big window to fit it into. But good job by the receiver kind of breaking the route off horizontally, and Carson Beck delivers a strike. Again, right before contact is made by the defensive back, and I think he drew another penalty on this. You'll see this develop much better from the tight window, where Carson Beck, this is not an easy thing to do. You are looking to your right. You are trying to go to your right. It is not there. Linebacker, defender has got it sniffed out. So now you've got to come back to your feet. Boom. Look. Head. See, this is what I love about Carson Beck. Eyes first, feet follow. Eyes, feet follow right back into the window, and absolutely perfect mechanics. Watch how perfect these mechanics are for Carson Beck. After clicking off one read to his right, he comes back to the next read over the middle, and look how on platform he is. Quiet feet, beautiful release point, stays stacked on his back leg, weight, transfer through the football, and didn't even move off the spot after he threw it. I mean, that is perfect mechanics for Carson Beck. I honestly think if you were going to draw up mechanics to show to people in a fundamentals video, and oh, by the way, again, still had to avoid the umpire in the middle of the field. Absolute perfection. I love these mechanics from Carson Beck. I honestly think he has the best mechanics in the draft. I think I can watch this man throw football all day long. I mean, it's just so perfect. To me, I do a drill with the 12-year-olds I coach where I put a cone around their back foot. And every time they throw the ball, they are not allowed to lift their back foot out of the cone. It's like a little circular cone that I make around their foot. And it's just so perfect how Carson Beck, like, watch his back foot. He comes through, he is stacked on his back leg, and then once he transfers weight to his front side, he doesn't drift off the spot. That back foot stays planted on the ground right there. I mean, it's beautiful mechanics. I love the arm slot. He's not quite fully over the top. He kind of slings it a little bit. Kind of slings it like a shortstop. Right? He's kind of got that sidewinder approach. Definitely doesn't come at it from the side like John Mateer does, but not straight over the top like a Peyton Manning either. I think he's got the best mechanics, the most pro-ready mechanics in this draft class. Now, does that mean he's going to be the best quarterback at the end of the day out of this draft class? I have no idea. But I do think there's a chance. Like, let's say it's the Steelers. Let's say the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers is back. The Steelers go O-line in the first round. I've got him taking Markel Bell, but it could be any O-lineman because you know, at this point, Rodgers is a statue. You got to protect Aaron. So Rodgers is back. You're drafting an offensive lineman in the first round. We'll see what you do in the second round. Then you get to the third or fourth round, and Carson Beck's available. And you know that Aaron Rodgers, decent chance he's going to get nicked up at some point during the season. You need to have a quarterback who can step in that has the experience that you're not using first-round assets on, because it's not worth it with Ty Simpson. I just don't think drafting Ty Simpson in this spot for a team like the Steelers that might need him right away is worth it. I think the lack of experience for Ty Simpson, you need a full year of not playing in the NFL to figure out what's happening. Whereas I think Carson Beck has enough experience to step in a pinch and deliver the football on time, click through reads, kind of like Joe Flacco in a way. And I think that's, to me, the ceiling for a guy like Carson Beck, is you get Joe Flacco type production out of him in a backup role that gets thrust into a starting situation because of injury. That, to me, is the reason why you, as a Pittsburgh Steelers team or as someone else like a veteran contending team, with a veteran quarterback, that's why you would draft the Carson Beck. So I'm bullish on Beck heading into the draft. I think he is the third quarterback in the class. I have Mendoza 1. I have Simpson 2. I have Carson Beck 3. Not a big gap. I think there's a lot of good reasons to take Garrett Nussmeier. There's going to be some GM that is enamored with Drew Aller's physical traits, but maybe I'm just biased coming from the Penn State perspective. But if you put him in during a big game, he's gonna fold like a cheap lawn chair. And I think Carson Beck has shown you that he can perform big time in big time moments and not contract TSS, tight sphincter syndrome, and be able to get through a defense and understand what the defense is trying to do and put the ball where it needs to be put with accuracy. I think that's, to me, where Carson Beck shines. That's the traits that I see in him from the neck up that I believe translates well to the NFL. So hope you enjoyed this film study. If I get some positive feedback, maybe I'll do another one with another one of these quarterbacks before the draft next Thursday. But I felt passionate about my handicap with Carson Beck, and I wanted to share it with you, and I hope you enjoyed today. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button on your way out. Love y'all, and I'll see you next time.